right, so the presentation tonight as it loads is on absolute and comparative advantage. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chandler Jordan. I'm the program director of SC Economics. Hopefully by now, most of you know me. I've got a lot of familiar names in here tonight, but there are some new ones. So hopefully, you guys are able to see those emails come across, and now you can put a face with the name. In this remote world, it is always so nice to have a face with a name on occasion. So thank you all for being here with me tonight. I am super excited to introduce you to my new superhero friend, Jack of all trades tonight. And so first, before we get started, I think it's always fun to learn a little bit more about me. I know a lot of you know that I am that crazy program director and that I send you a million emails, but you might not know everything about me. So that being said, I have got an intro slide. Sorry guys, people are coming in the waiting room and I'm kind of double duty in here, but that's fine. So I've been the program director for SC Economics for 2 years. Before that, I taught economics and government, mostly economics, but occasionally I got a couple of government classes for 7 years in Lexington 1. And then I am also an AP macroeconomics reader. So that's kind of econ nerd on all oblivion. I am married to a CPA at Shaheen, Hancock, and Godwin in Camden. And my most proud thing is that I am a proud pug mom. And so before long, excuse me guys, he may make an appearance at the end of this. I'm choking, hold on. All right, that was fun. Okay, so our agenda for tonight, we're going to talk about objectives and standards. We're going to go into a lesson demonstration with absolute and comparative advantage. And then we're going to do a summary and source. So what are our objectives tonight? Our objectives are that we can determine who has the absolute advantage when it comes to comparing what time it takes in two different parties to complete the same task. That we can determine the opportunity cost when it comes to comparing two different parties completing the same task and completing two separate tasks. That we can determine the most efficient method to complete work based on the concepts of comparative advantage and opportunity cost. And we can identify the relationship between opportunity cost and comparative advantage. And finally, we can interpret the production's possibility frontier diagram and how it recall how it represents all of these concepts. All right, so the standards that we're looking at, guys, I'm struggling over here. Hopefully that will go away soon. The standards that we're looking at are the economics and personal finance standards, specifically standard 1. On the communicate and conclude standard, it says determine how society's allocation of resources impacts the economic well-being using the production's possibility curve. And that indicator was developed to talk about production alternatives, to look at the production's possibility curve and how indicators promote inquiry and how production's possibility model could impact the changes of resource and ultimately economic growth. And so that's kind of where we generally talk about absolute and comparative advantage. All right, so to launch the lesson today, would you guys like to start a business? Have you ever considered going into a partnership with someone? If you answered yes to any of those questions, there is an intelligent superhero is here to help you figure all of this stuff out. So have no fear, Jack of all trades is here. It may seem like it's a little intimidating, but have no fear, he is gonna walk us through this process. Jack has come to educate us on the productions of possibilities curve and how to start a business to maximize our output and define the terms to make sure that we are all mutually benefiting by all things that we agree upon. Pay close attention to Jack and his new relationship that he builds with a young man named Andy, because together the two of them are going to conquer many challenges. So let's begin this session by meeting our hero, Jack. All right, in this opening episode, you're going to meet two people. You're going to meet the Jack of all trades and Andy. Jack, of course, is our superhero. He's our problem solver, and he brings with him a large ego. Andy is an average guy who can fix cars and shovel snow, but he is no superhero like Jack. We're going to watch and listen as they establish their absolute advantage by comparing how long it takes for each of them to complete a variety of tasks. Spoiler alert, Jack the superhero may be a little faster. However, that doesn't mean that Jack's time is more valuable than Andy's. So let's watch the first episode together.
He's master of all tasks and provider of all services. He's Jack of all trades.
My car won't start. Where is he?
He could fix this. Jack, I need your help.
I hope he comes soon.
Who are these distressed citizens seeking? Who can relieve these puny mortals of their worries and woes? Only one man, a man unspeakably courageous and tidy, a man who never forgets his mother's birthday, master of all tasks, Jack of all trades.
Hello, devout followers. I could be of service to you all, but there are others. They live among you, disguised as simple people. They can fix cars, repair computers, and even shovel snow. I'm not talking about those other superheroes. I'm talking about someone much more heroic. I'm talking about, well, Andrew here. Andrew can fix cars and shovel snow.
Jack of all trades? Is it really you? I can't believe you're here.
Yes, average citizen, it is I. And though you are no superhero, young fixer of cars, you have the power to shovel snow.
Sure, I can, but golly gee, Mr. of all trades, I don't do either as quickly as you can. Why would you pick me?
Just because I can do everything doesn't mean I should. You've got to understand absolute advantage.
What's that?
Answer me this, Andrew. How long does it take you to change the spark plugs and wires in a 2006 Chevy Malibu?
Gosh, Jack, probably 2 hours. Oh, and I usually go by Andy.
Interesting, Andrew. I really am good. It only takes me 30 minutes. Let's try another. How long does it take you to shovel a 20 by 20 driveway?
Well, 20 times 20, Jack, it only takes me an hour.
My average is 30 minutes.
Man, see, I told you that you could do everything better.
This is what we call absolute advantage, Andrew. Sure, I have the human capital, my super big muscles and extra big brain, and I have the technology, my speedy cape. So I can do everything faster. But if we look at what it costs me, that is a different story.
Gosh, Jack, you have to pay people to fix their cars? That doesn't seem right.
Of course not, you silly mortal. If we look at what I have to give up to fix a car or shovel snow and compare it to what it costs you, what you have to give up to fix a car or shovel snow, we might find that your labor is more valuable than you think.
I don't get it.
Well, I won't give up on you yet, but you'll need to review a little concept I like to call opportunity cost.
What will Jack teach Andy about opportunity cost? What is the true value of Andy's services? Will Jack change the spark plugs on his 2006 Chevy Malibu? Tune in next time for episode 2 of Opportunity Cost of Justice.
Okay, so yes, it's a little silly, but hopefully you guys get a couple of chuckles in there. I actually found that my students really enjoyed them. We're going to play a couple of different videos tonight, and so you get to learn a lot about Andy and about Jack and their trials and tribulations by figuring out this whole absolute and comparative advantage scenario and how it works. All right, so moving forward, let's look at some concepts, just some brief overview. Again, most of you probably know all of these, but let's just make sure we've got some basic definitions. So opportunity cost is the value of the next best choice that one gives up when making a decision. And absolute advantage is the ability of an individual or group to carry out a particular task more efficiently than another individual or group. So before discussing opportunity costs, let's review absolute advantage really quick. On this slide, there are a number of tasks and the amount of time that it takes both Jack and Andy to complete that task. Based on this information, I want to determine a little bit who has the absolute advantage in each scenario. So in this case, I want you guys to go ahead and find the Zoom chat because I'm going to let you guys respond in the chat box. So if you are unsure how to do that, if you're full screen, if you'll hit your escape button, then you'll be given a taskbar at the bottom of your screen and you can click chat. So hopefully you guys are all familiar to get there. But in the chat, so let's look at the first one. Who has the absolute advantage when it comes to tying a tie? Jack takes 1 hour, Andy takes 1 minute. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to respond. Awesome, Andy, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the next one, doing 50 push-ups. It takes Jack 2 minutes. It takes Andy, like me, 2 days. Who has the absolute advantage in doing 50 push-ups? Jack, awesome. All right, let's move on to the next one, replacing carpet. It takes Jack 1 hour to replace a section of carpet where it takes Andy 4 hours. Who has the absolute advantage? Perfect, I'm seeing Jack again, awesome. And the last one, writing a book report. It takes Jack 4 hours and it takes Andy 2. Who has the absolute advantage? Perfect, Andy, yes. Yes, awesome, great. So again, that is a concept that normally isn't super difficult to get students to understand. They can look and it's just simply the one who can do it the fastest. Absolute advantage, can do it the fastest, can get it done. And so again, normally you don't have students that struggle with that, but it's always good to review it. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start to look at opportunity costs. So as we dive into this next slide, I challenge you guys in the chat box one more time, will you guys define opportunity costs using your own words? So just define opportunity cost using your own words in the chat box. Awesome, I'm getting some great responses. Perfect, perfect. Take a second to scroll through the chat and see what everyone has responded. I think it's always good to give your students the opportunity to kind of come up with their own definition to make it their own so that they have the ability to take ownership of that definition. So for example, we've got, let me pull a couple of them. So Vicky said the best alternative that has foregone. That's awesome. Sherry said the next best option. Perfect. Cynthia said the value of the next best alternative. Very good. So all of those are great. So looking at opportunity cost, because opportunity cost is the value of what we have to give up and considering the time it takes Jack and Andy to do certain tasks. So given the time associated with each task, if both Jack and Andy repair cars, so we're looking at simply just looking at repairing cars, who do you think has the absolute, or who do you think has the lower opportunity cost? So again, we're looking at the time associated with each task. And if Jack and Andy repair cars, who has the lowest opportunity cost? Now, I'm not going to ask for that question, the answer to that question right this second. Because we're going to look at one more episode that specializes on opportunity costs first. But just think about this. So again, looking at each task, both Jack and Andy, who has the lower opportunity cost for repairing cars, so car repair. All right, so let's move on to episode 2 about opportunity costs. In this episode, we're going to meet the pessimist's misinformation. While Andy is going to night school to learn how to own his own business, misinformation is going to attempt to deflate Andy and take away his ambitions. However, have no fear, Jack will be here to save the day. And he's going to combine his abilities with Andy and they're going to bond a business together, and they're going to figure out the opportunity cost. So will Jack be able to convince Andy if this is a good idea? Let's watch this episode and find out.
When last we left our story, Andy was filled with malaise and woe as he realized that Jack has the absolute advantage. But thanks to Jack's encouragement, Andy enrolled in a finance class to fulfill his lifelong dream of owning his own car repair snow removal business. Will Andy accomplish this Herculean feat? Will he overcome the Mount Everest that is Jack's absolute advantage? Click next to find out. At this very moment, in her bizarre classroom headquarters, Jack's arch enemy, misinformation, is dashing Andy's dream of owning his own business.
Oh, Andy, starting your own car repair and snow shoveling business is a terrible idea. You'll never be able to compete with the likes of Jack of all trades. He'll always be better and faster than you.
Stop, evildoer! Misinformation. I should have known. Even without a keen sense of super smell, I could detect the foul stench of your trickery.
Curse you, Jack of all trades. Why can't you mind your own business?
Truth and justice are my business, and business is brisk. Listen not to her lies, young Andrew. She offers you a heady brew of deceit and connivery. Begone!
But misinformation was right, Mr. Jack. I should forget about the whole thing.
Chin up, Andrew. You're not powerless, you know.
Gee willikers, Mr. Jack. If I start a snow shoveling and car fixing business, your speedy service will put me out of business in no time. You can do everything better and faster.
Well, Andrew, I am a superior specimen. You have a unique value to offer. In fact, I suggest that we combine forces and use our unique values to rid the world of evil snow and dastardly automotive disrepair. What do you say, old chum?
Why do you want to do that?
If we combine our efforts, we become an unstoppable force for the snow removing and car repairing justice. Come on, dude. Help a superhero out. I need to make a few bucks to spruce up my fortress of justice. I'm so tired of people making fun of my deep shag carpeting. But I digress. What say you, citizen? Do you wish to combine forces with me?
Gosh, I don't know, Jack.
Despite my obvious superiority, demonstrated in my absolute advantage, you, Andrew, bring value with which my greatness cannot compete. Let me show you. Because it takes me the same amount of time to perform both tasks, for each driveway I shovel, I give up one car repair. And for each car I repair, I give up one driveway. Those are my opportunity costs. What about you, Andrew? When you shovel a driveway, how many car repairs do you give up?
How am I supposed to know that?
Oh, dude. Sometimes I think you're just toying with me. Think about it. It takes you 60 minutes to shovel a driveway and 120 minutes to fix a car. What is your opportunity cost for a car repair?
2 clean driveways?
Right on. On the other hand, what is your opportunity cost for shoveling a driveway?
Halfway fix a car?
Excellent. 1/2 of a car repair. So, in which of these scenarios do you have the lower opportunity cost?
Shoveling driveways.
Of course. One driveway only costs you 1/2 of a car repair, but one car repair costs you 2 driveways. No matter how many driveways you shovel or cars you repair, your opportunity cost will always be higher when you repair cars and lower when you shovel snow.
Your opportunity cost is the same no matter what, but it costs me more to fix cars than to shovel driveways. So what's the point, Jack?
Oh, this is where it gets interesting. We'll take a break, but next we'll compare each of our production abilities within 8 hours for each task and discover a little concept I like to call comparative advantage.
Will Andy understand the idea of comparative advantage? Will Jack and Andy combine forces to create a justice-filled bucket of snow removal car repair goodness? Will Jack replace his shag carpeting with something tasteful and modern? Perhaps a lovely parquet floor. Tune in next time for episode 3, Comparative Advantage of Justice.
All right. So let's reflect back on the question that I asked you. I asked you that before we had that last episode, I said, consider who had the lowest opportunity cost in repairing cars. And so if you guys, again, will find the chat, if you'll find the chat and let me know who has the lowest opportunity cost in repairing cars. Here we go. All right. All right, so in this example, actually, Jack is the one who is going to have the lower opportunity cost when repairing cars. And the time it takes him to repair one car, he could have shoveled one driveway. Andy, on the other hand, could shovel two driveways in the time it takes him to repair one car. So that makes it so that Jack has the lowest opportunity cost. And we're going to dig a little deeper into this. For most of you, we're able to figure that, but for those of you who are unsure, we will get through some math in just a second. All right, so here we go. We've got some question problems for you. And so this is figuring out the opportunity cost for practice. And so I've got 4 questions here based on a graph that I have off to the right. And so we're replacing carpet and we are writing a book report. And so for example, with Jack, it takes Jack 1 hour to replace carpet and Andy 4 hours. For writing a book report, it takes Jack 4 hours and it takes Andy 2 hours. So what I would like you guys to do is to calculate the opportunity cost for Jack's doing carpet replacement in terms of book writing, Jack writing a book in terms of car replacement, and then Andy's opportunity cost of carpet replacement in lieu of book writing, and Andy's opportunity cost in writing a book report in lieu of replacing carpet. So I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes, just on your own, to try to calculate those on just a scrap sheet of paper, nothing serious. On the next slide is the answers, and we'll talk through the why. So I'm just going to give you about 3 minutes to go through this on your own. All right, so I am going to click to the next slide, which is going to have your answers on it. We are going to go over it together. So if something you wrote down is not what is on here, don't worry, we're going to go over it. All right, so the first one is, what is Jack's opportunity cost for carpet replacement? And again, we're going to answer that in terms of book reports. So Jack's opportunity cost for carpet replacement, excuse me. So it takes Jack 1 hour to replace carpet, and it takes him 4 hours to write a book report. So we would do 1 divided by 4, which would be 1/4 of a book report. So Jack's opportunity cost for carpet replacement is 1/4 of a book report. The second one is Jack's opportunity cost for writing a book report. So we're going to look at that in terms of carpet replacement. So again, we'll look at the opposite. So again, Jack can replace carpet in 1 hour. He can write a book report in 4 hours. So that would be 4 divided by 1, which means 4 carpet replacement. So Jack's opportunity cost for writing a book report is 4 carpet replacements. So now we'll look at Andy for number 3. What is Andy's opportunity cost for carpet replacement? Well, for Andy, it takes 4 hours to replace a carpet, and it only takes him 2 hours to write a book report. So Andy's opportunity cost for carpet replacement is 4 divided by 2. So that would be 2 book reports. So his opportunity cost for carpet replacement would be 2 book reports. The fourth one, what is Andy's opportunity cost for writing a book report? Again, that will be in terms of replacing carpet. And so you would take the 2 and divide it by 4. And so that would give you 1/2 carpet replacements. So Andy's opportunity cost for writing a book report is 1/2 of a carpet replacement. Just by, thumbs up, thumbs down, how'd y'all do? Let me see thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle, like, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, I gotta see a lot of thumbs up. That makes me happy. So this is one of the harder skills. And so and again, what it is we're bringing fractions back into kids' lives. And this is an application of fractions. And so you'll find out really quickly if kids have a fear of fractions. I try really hard to keep numbers clean. And I think that, that's kind of the best way to take away that initial fear, is to try to keep numbers as clean as possible, so that we're not getting any kind of, nasty numbers. And that kind of helps take the fear a little bit out of it. So I am thankful for these examples. I've tried to keep everything as clean as possible when it comes to math. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start looking for an advantage on who has the advantage. And so we're going to start looking for this idea of comparative advantage. Comparative advantage, again, is just simply the ability to produce a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than another producer. And so what we'll end up doing is we'll compare the opportunity costs that we have just figured out between 2 different people to see who has the comparative advantage. And so moving forward, we're going to watch our next to the last episode on comparative advantage. In this episode, Jack is going to continue to press Andy for the opportunity to combine forces so that they can come together and go to business. So we can join it together and open a business. But first, Jack has to help Andy understand comparative advantage and the efficiencies that working together could bring. And so even though Andy's kind of like, why would I work with you, Jack? You can do everything so much better, so much faster than me. Jack's going to take some time to explain comparative advantage, and why, even though Jack technically can do things quicker, it is advantageous for them to work together. So let's watch episode 3.
When last we left our story, Andy was befuddled. Thoughts of opportunity cost and absolute advantage blurred the clarity of his future business plans. Misinformation nearly convinced him that he couldn't achieve his goals, but Jack's promise to save Andy from the ravages of misinformation made him wonder if going into business with Jack might just be the answer. But what was the question? Will Jack and Andy merge forces?
So, Andrew, my main man, You ready to go into business together? All you have to do is sign on the dotted line.
There must be a catch. I clearly don't have your superpower panache.
It's all about comparative advantage. Sure, I have bulging biceps and absolute advantage, but you underestimate your comparative advantage. For me, one car repair costs one clean driveway. For you, it costs two clean driveways. I have the comparative advantage.
See, I told you that you were better at everything.
Impatient. On the other hand, for me, one clean driveway costs one car repair. But for you, one clean driveway costs only half of a car repair. Car repair costs me less, but snow shoveling costs you less.
So maybe you should do all the car repairs and I should do all the shoveling.
That's exactly right.
What? I was kidding. How is that more efficient than you're doing everything?
Look, in an 8-hour day, I could shovel 16 driveways or fix 16 cars, or some combination thereof, such as 2 cars and 14 driveways, 4 cars and 12 driveways, 6 cars and 10 driveways. You get the point.
In the extreme case that I do all of the work, what gets done?
Oh, you weren't kidding that time. In an 8-hour workday, you could shovel 8 driveways or fix 4 cars, or some combination thereof. As you'll see, you could also fix 1 car or shovel 6 driveways, fix 2 cars or shovel 4 driveways, and so on. Let's say in one day, I do 10 car repairs and shovel 6 driveways. That's all I could do in one day. Let's also say in the same day, you repair 3 cars and shovel 2 driveways. That gives us a total of 13 car repairs and a total of 8 driveways.
And so the point is,
If we each specialize in the task in which we have the comparative advantage, I will spend the day doing car repairs. You will spend the day shoveling snow.
oh, so by specializing, we'll repair 16 cars instead of 13. And we'll clear the same number of driveways. And you don't have to do all the work, Mr. Jack. Holy hijinks, I totally get it. We'll get more done if we both work and if we both specialize in the task for which we have the greater comparative advantage. That is, the task in which we have the lower opportunity costs.
Yes, sirree, Andrew. If we specialize, we gain 3 more car repairs without an increase in labor inputs. I don't even have to break a sweat. But I will, just for the fun of it.
This is awesome, but I need a break.
Is Andy really conquering the injustice of misinformation? Does he have all the information he needs to graduate from Jack's School of Justice? Will he sign the deal and agree to shovel all the driveways? Will Jack earn enough money to renovate his Fortress of Justice? Tune in next time for episode 4 of Production Possibilities Frontier of Justice.
All right. So let's review some concepts that took place in that particular video. We talked about comparative advantage and what it means. So comparative advantage is the ability to produce more goods and service at a lower opportunity cost than another producer. And then again, this idea of specialization. This is when a nation or individual concentrates on its production efforts on producing a limited variety of goods and services. So you specialize in order to increase your production possibility. And so we'll go into that. Now, I'm going to warn you that the next couple of slides are really for your advanced students. And so a lot of times I kind of stop at opportunity costs with my own level economics course. But depending on your student, sometimes you can take it and do the math of comparative advantage and some of the more complex ways of looking at both input and output problems. Sometimes it's easier just to kind of keep it simple. But if some of you, I noticed a couple of you are AP teachers, so I'm going to push this even further so that you'll have some different strategies to do with your students. So again, if this gets like too much, just put your earmuffs on. I'll call you back shortly and stick with me for some more kind of little more advanced. So again, you may not do this with your own level students, or you may, depending on what level they're at. So we will move forward. So what I am talking about is there is a difference between the way problems are set up in order to find the comparative advantage. And what I mean by that is we have to identify if a problem is an input problem or an output problem. In this case, we have an input problem. Input problems are looking for the least amount of resources to be used. So producing a set amount of something by using the least amount of resources. So that can be land, that can be time, etc. So in this case, we are looking at time. And so this is an input problem because we are looking at time. And our goal will be to identify the least amount of resources used. And so the way that I teach this to my students is the method that I call the it-over method. I did not create this on my own. This is from one of my great friends, Jacob Reed, who is also an AP reader. There are other methods, so this is just one of those. But the reason why the it-over seems to be the most efficient method is because input starts with I and it-over starts with I. And so there's a little bit of a correlation there for kids to remember, for your students to remember that that is how this is calculated. So let's look at snow shoveling. So what is Jack's opportunity cost for snow shoveling? Again, this is an input question. So we know we can use the it-over method, meaning we put it, the snow shoveling, that's what the it means, on top of the car repair. So it over. So that would be 30 over 30, which would equal 1 car. So Jack's opportunity cost for snow shoveling is 1 car repair. So let's look at Andy's opportunity cost for snow shoveling. Again, using the it over method, putting it over. So we're talking about the opportunity cost of snow shoveling. So that's the it. So that would be 60 over 120. When we do the quick math on that one, we'll get a half of car. So Andy's opportunity cost for snow shoveling is a half of car. So if Jack's opportunity cost is 1 car and Andy's opportunity cost is 1/2 car, who has the least amount of resources needed? And so who would have the opportunity cost, or who would have the comparative advantage in this case? You guys will find the chat and let me know. So again, who has the comparative advantage? So we're saying Jack's opportunity cost is 1 car, where Andy's opportunity cost is 1/2 car. So who has the comparative advantage in this case? It's the least amount of resources used. So find the chat and let me know. All right. I see a bunch of Andys. Andy is correct. So Andy should be the one shoveling snow because at 1/2 car, he has the least amount of resources used. So he should shovel the snow. All right, so we just went over an input problem. Let's go over an output problem. An output problem is producing the most with similar resources as another country or person at the lowest opportunity cost. So again, input problems are looking at the most at the lowest opportunity cost. The method that I use for this one that I would teach my students is the other over method. Again, output starts with O, so we would use other over. And so in this case, we're looking at output problems. We're looking at actual cars and actual yards. So we're not looking at time here. We're looking at actual production. So we can repair, so Jack can repair 6 cars and he can shovel 4 yards. Andy can shovel 6 yards and repair 2 cars. So let's use the over other method to figure out the opportunity cost for snow shoveling from Jack. So the Jack's opportunity cost for snow shoveling using the other over method. And so that means we're going to put the other one on top. And so for Jack, that's the car repair. So that would be the 6 on top, the 4 on bottom. So once we solve that, that would be 1 1/2 cars. 1 1/2 cars. So Jack's opportunity cost for snow shoveling is 1 1/2 cars. Andy, let's look at Andy. Andy's opportunity cost for snow shoveling, again using the other over method because we're looking at the actual number of yards and the actual number of cars. So other over, if we're trying to solve for snow shoveling, we put the other on top. So that would be car repair. That would be 2 over 6 for Andy, which would solve down to 1/3 of a car. So who had the lowest opportunity cost? Lowest opportunity cost. So Jack's opportunity cost for snow shoveling was 1 1/2 car. Andy's opportunity cost for snow shoveling was 1/3 car. Let me know in the chat who had the lowest opportunity cost. Perfect. You guys got this. Andy. Andy, perfect. All right, the next 2 slides are gonna make, if you're a math person, the next 2 slides are gonna make you absolutely nuts. If you're not a math person, the next 2 slides will be the biggest blessing ever. This is something, the next 2 slides are gonna show you a different method. And this is a method that I only taught I only taught this next method to my AP students. Some of my own level students could handle what we just did with input and output problems, depending on where they were, but my AP students are the only ones who I introduced into the cross multiplication method, which is what we're gonna do next. I also only shared this method with them when we were in review. So I never gave them this method when we were learning the concepts to begin with. So when we were in the basic, I only did it at the very end for review because it is a quick method. However, it only gives you one really answer. It doesn't break down the exact opportunity cost. But it does save you some time. The only thing, like I said, if you're a math person, this is gonna drive you a little crazy because mathematically, like, why does this work? We don't know. We're just going with it because it does work. And so this is called the cross multiplication method. And of course, I'm gonna show you an example for an output problem and an input problem. Since the last problem we just did was an output problem, again, we're looking at who is producing the most with similar resources, so the greatest or the biggest number is what we're doing. We will literally cross multiply. And again, it's crazy that this works, but let's start with Jack. So if Jack is snow shoveling and Andy is repairing cars, that's 4 times 2, which gives us 8. So that's 8 total units of production. Then if we do the opposite, we do Andy shoveling snow and Jack repairing cars, that's 6 times 6, which is 36 units of production. Because this is an output problem and we are looking for the greatest or the biggest number, 36 is the larger of the 2 numbers. Therefore, Jack should repair cars and Andy should shovel snow. How many of your minds are just blown? It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy and it works. Now, again, I told you that I only shared this with my students when we were in review. And this only works if the question is only asking for who should do what. Obviously, if it's asking for opportunity cost, like how many cars does Andy have to give up in order to shovel snow, like this doesn't help with that. This only helps if the question is specifically asking who should do what. All right, let's look at the input method. So input problems, again, these are looking at time and we're looking at the least amount of resources. So in this case, we're looking at the least or the smallest number. And so again, we've got Jack who's doing the show shoveling for 30 minutes and then Andy doing the car repair for 120 minutes. That's the red oval. So that's, if you do 30 times 120, that's 3,600. Then we come in with the orange, that's 60 minutes times 30 minutes for 1,800 minutes. So with Jack shoveling snow and Andy repairing cars, the total is 3,600 minutes. With Jack repairing cars and Andy shoveling snow, the total amount is 1,800 minutes. Therefore, because we are looking for the least or the smallest number, in this case, Jack should repair cars and Andy should shovel snow. Crazy? Insane. I am going to share this presentation with you guys, so know that you'll have access to this slide so you can dig a little deeper into it. You can also are welcome to ask any questions because I understand that it is a bit crazy, but it is a cool method. And it does simplify things, especially when you're taking a time test or whatnot. It kind of helps with all of that. All right, so our next and our last episode is where we're gonna pull it all together with production possibilities. In this episode, we're gonna listen to Jack teach Andy about the production possibilities frontier and how to diagram it. This knowledge is going to help the two aspiring businessmen chart all of their production for their labor and based off of each ability. So they're going to use the information that they were able to figure out with comparative advantage and chart that information on the production's possibility frontier.
When last we left our story, Andy was jubilant about understanding the difference between absolute and comparative advantage. He was seriously considering Jack's offer to go into business together. He imagined a dynamic business duo like no other. Would he be the cheese to Jack's crackers? The apprentice to Jack's Trump? The Hermione to Jack's Harry? The Robin to Jack's, oh, never mind.
Wow, Andrew. You look a little different with all that knowledge in your head.
Well, gee willy winkers, Jack. When we go into business together, you don't want to be the only one who looks capable of doing the work.
Oh, comrade, chum, pal. That's exactly what I want. Take off the cape. Unless, of course, you can draw a diagram of our production possibilities frontier.
Our what?
That's what I thought. Take off the cape.
All right, teach me, O wise one.
By specializing in an 8-hour day, I can either do 16 car repairs or 16 driveways. This straight line is my production possibility frontier.
Frontier? It looks like a line to me.
A frontier is a border, right? Think of this as the border of the most I can do and more than I can do. This line, as you call it, is the most I can do. Anything that falls outside of the line is more than I can do. Anything that is under or on the line is what I can do. Of course, I want to produce some combination on the line because then I'm doing the best that I can do. So I want to produce 10 cars and 6 driveways, or 8 of each, and so on.
What's mine look like?
In an 8-hour day, you can either fix 4 cars or shovel 8 driveways, or a number of other combinations. 3 cars and 2 driveways, 2 cars and 4 driveways, 1 car and 6 driveways, and so on.
Mine is little compared to yours.
Of course it is. I have absolute advantage, but as much as it pains me to admit this, absolute advantage doesn't help me grow the most productive business possible. Fact is, comparative advantage is where it's at, and when we team up, we get the best of both of us. Andrew, my trusted compadre, soon I must retreat from this think tank of ours and share my charm and brute strength with other mere mortals. Before I take my leave, however, let's review the knowledge I've bestowed upon you. Here's an outline of our production possibilities. So, where on here do you see your production possibilities when working alone?
Well, that would be that little section on the bottom.
Correctamundo. And where is mine when I work alone?
Well, that's the next one that joins at 10 and 6, because that's one combination of the most you could do on your own.
Right you are, my man. Right you are. And this point at 13 and 8. What is that?
That's an example of what we could produce if we worked together but didn't specialize. And that last one, I know you're about to ask me, is the sum of our collective production with specialization.
Holy calculations, boy. I think you've got it. You've really got it.
Gosh, Jack, I don't know how to thank you.
What's this? I hear the cries of a distressed citizen. Andrew, I leave you to work out our business plan. We'll soon see the fruits of our combined labor. I'll invite you over. We'll have snacks. But for now, there are lesser beings who require my super prowess and keen intellect. Farewell, young Andrew. I am off to dispense more steaming, hearty dollops of knowledge and, of course, justice.
Just outside Jack's Fortress of Justice.
Jack, are you home? Jack, your plan worked. Here's your cut. We're gajillionaires.
What will Jack and Andy do next? Will Andy get a cape? Will Jack forego renovations and just build new? More to come in episode 5 of Advanced Specialization of Justice.
All right, so that was the last episode that I'm going to show you guys tonight. However, know that there is another one that goes more in detail with specialization. But let's talk real quick about production's possibility frontier. Again, what is it? It is a graphic representation of output combinations that can be produced within a given producer's ability, available resources. And so we learned about this pretty early on in economics. And so this is just another place to pull it right back in. And so we talk about, you know, the all original guns and butter demonstration, etc. Maybe you do capital goods and consumer goods, and you plot and you talk about what it means to work outside of that production's possibility curve. And so this is an example as if we come together and we trade, or we figure out, calculate comparative advantage on who should specialize. It's a way to go beyond our original production possibilities curve. And so one of the questions that I always get is, for example, Jack of all trades could do this without any help. Like he had both, he was better at everything we did. He could do it all, but why in the world would he work with Andy, or why would he want to work with Andy? And so this is what we show them, is we show production's possibility, because by working together, Jack and Andy are able to exceed their own production's possibilities. So despite the fact that Jack did a great job on his own, he was able to exceed this by working with Andy. All right, so real quick, just a history note, because I love history and I obviously love economics. Comparative advantage was proposed by this English economist, David Ricardo. He applied his theory to international trade and explained that if countries specialize in the production in which they have the lowest opportunity cost, much like Andy and Jack have specialized in their particular services, then they trade with a country that also participates and specializes in a particular good. Then both trading partners can experience an increase in consumption without an increase in efforts or expense. And so again, thank you, David Ricardo, for bringing this up for us. Essentially, this means that both countries can enjoy more than just the two goods that they originally could with less or not any additional efforts. And so why do we trade? And again, we open up trade as far as the standards and more in macroeconomics. So in the spring, we'll talk really more in depth about trade, but I didn't want to leave you guys tonight without like a little tidbit about trade. So terms of trade, especially, in order for trade to be mutually beneficial among each party, the price of a good or service must be between the opportunity cost of the of the producers involved in the trade. And so what I mean by this is that we always have a lot of trouble, especially with our AP students or our higher level students, is this idea of terms of trade. But terms of trade is simply a range. It is the range of the opportunity cost involved. So the opportunity cost of country A versus the opportunity cost of country B for that same product or that same production. And so terms of trade is simply, it has to fall within that range in order for both countries to benefit. Also, the importer will pay no more for goods and services than what it costs them to produce. So of course, we're not going to import something that we could produce for a lesser price. So why trade as an importer if you can produce the good or service at a lower cost? And so that won't happen. As far as exporters, they'll sell goods and services for no less than what it costs for them to produce. So again, we're not going to undercut ourselves and not sell things for the price in which we need to at least get back for our goods. So why trade as an exporter if you won't make as much selling the good or service as it costs you to produce? And so those are just kind of a glimpse at trade. And again, we'll go way more in depth on what trade is and how trade works using this information in the spring when we kind of spotlight macroeconomics. All right, so I've got a couple of slides that are just simply a summary of what we talked about today: absolute advantage, opportunity cost, comparative advantage, production possibility frontier, and specialization. And then following up with trade, I just tagged that all in there again for you guys to have when you get this presentation, to have kind of a summary of everything that it covers. Again, as you guys noticed, I did not create this lesson. It is just one that I found and I thoroughly enjoy. It is cheesy, and I think I just love cheesy. So, and it gets good response. It has little snippets. It keeps kids' attention. The videos are super short, so it's just a great way to get them involved. This is the Comparative Advantage of Justice. It was created by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and it is available to you guys at no cost on Econ Lowdown. And again, I'm going to share this presentation with you all, and it has it all tagged in there, so you'll be able to find that. There is a student-paced version of this. So in a remote setting, you could even let your students work through this program by themselves, completely online, and it prompts them through a script and some practice problems as they go through. Or if you were doing it in a face-to-face setting, or even just in a Zoom setting like this, you could easily go through, you know, a PowerPoint like I've created tonight. And again, I'm going to share this with you. You're welcome to make a copy of it, or whatever you need to do in order for this information to be useful. All right, but that is all I have for you guys tonight. I really appreciate you sticking it out with me. I don't even know how we are with time. Oh, look at us. We got 4 minutes. We're good. But thank you so much. I am going to drop the evaluation in the chat box as soon as I get my life together. Hang on one second. And so you guys, if you will, please fill out the evaluation. That also gives us credit for knowing that you were here tonight, and so that we can use the information that we get from Zoom as you logged in, and use it to look at the evaluations to make sure that you have both filled out. So again, in order to get your credit, you will have to have both filled out. And 20 minutes later, here I am finally posting it in the chat box. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself, or if you would like to just type them in the chat box, I'll be happy to answer questions. I know this is a tough concept, so if you're confused about anything, you want me to review anything, I will be happy to do it.